Hey there guys, Master64 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing a review of Shrek 2 for the PC. I guess this is just my weird way of talking about why Shrek 2 is good and bad in all these various ways without actually making a full review, which, by the way, I think I probably should do that at some point, but I haven't done yet. This review was made like 9 years ago, so this is an ancient review as far as everyone should be concerned. But yeah, let's just get right into it. No. We get on with the actual review or what? Is that possible?
Shrek 2 for the PC is actually very different from the Shrek 2 game that most people will probably know.
Oh yeah,
if you're
completely different.
I'm reviewing the PC only version of Shrek 2. The PC one is just called Shrek 2.
No, it's not. It's called Shrek 2 the game. I don't know how many of you guys actually know that. It's not called Shrek 2 PC or Shrek 2. It's called Shrek 2 the game. Sorry, this is going to be such a weird video. I need to clarify that because otherwise people are going to be like, you're mean. So yeah.
Now, if you haven't seen...
Okay, now what's with the Dude, I don't know who was recording this video. He said at the very beginning that he took this footage from someone else, but you can see, like, there's artifacts all around, like, the eyes and the mouth and stuff like this. This is generally caused by your GPU, so I'm not sure what this was recorded on. I'm sure he's probably going to bring this up at some point in the review, and if he does, then that's a GPU issue. It's not a game issue.
But looking back at this game's actually pretty weird, like, as a release at all. In terms of gameplay, it's pretty weird in general. I mean, the game runs off Unreal Engine 2, which is just... You don't expect that from a Shrek game.
What were you expecting, though? Like, why does it matter what the engine is? That's a random point. Unreal Engine 2 at the time was a pretty good engine, like a pretty top-tier engine. Nowadays, it's not considered that great. Yep.
Spacebar lets you see all your potions. Now, why spacebar isn't jump, I don't know, and you can't change that.
Yeah, okay, you can't change it in-game, but you can change it in the configuration file, which is incredibly easy to modify in the game's directory. But I guess it depends on who you're really talking to as to whether or not that should be a point for review. And by the way, I have no idea why spacebar is not the jump key. Who knows?
Double jumping is a bit responsive, but you'll get used to it.
What does that even mean?
It follows a very linear path where you're either doing a little bit of platforming, a lot of bit of platforming, or you'll be beating up enemies.
Yep, that's the whole game, unfortunately.
The enemies don't even gang up on you when there's more of them. Like, one will attack you once.
I don't know how many of you have played Shrek 2 and understand this. I assume most of you have, but fun fact, only 2 enemies can attack you at once. Now, the reason there's a cap of 2 enemies attacking you once, I'm assuming it's because this is supposed to be a kid's game, but unfortunately, when the game decides to throw you, like, 20 enemies at once, it just looks really bad, because the enemies will simply just stand there and wait for the other 2 enemies who are aggroing you to kill you.
In this game, you play as 5 characters. There's Shrek.
Okay, that's just wrong. You have Shrek, Donkey, Puss in Boots, you have Steed, Shrek Human, and you have Mongo. You can't forget about Mongo, man. Mongo definitely matters.
There's a donkey who really can't do anything.
Dude, what is it with these people calling out Donkey's terrible movement? I mean, look, okay, Donkey isn't completely he's useless.
There's Puss in Boots, who apparently is like the most agile character in the game.
Technically true, his hitbox is really small, but the thing is that he moves really slow. In comparison to every other character, every character in the game runs at a speed of 550 units a second, while Puss in Boots runs at 375 units a second, so he's the slowest character. Every other character has the same running speed, even Mongo runs at 550 units a second. So yeah, Puss in Boots is cool, but the level is going to have to be small in order to accommodate his speed.
Then there's Handsome Donkey, who is a steed. And these characters have very minor differences, except for Donkey. He really can't do half the stuff Shrek and Puss can.
I have no idea what he is talking about there, to be honest. Usually the differences between all the characters are basically as simple as how far do you go forward when you punch, how high can you double jump, which impacts your double jump timings, and what do you look like. That's basically it. That's basically the only differences. I guess there are like some more key elements, like Puss in Boots is the only character in the entire game who can climb ladders, which is pretty unique. And also really cool. Steed, Mongo, and Shrek Human can't do a combo attack. And what I mean by that, I don't mean that they can't attack 3 times in a row. You know that whenever Shrek does 3 attacks, he like slams the ground, right, with an earthquake. Whenever that happens, that does an infinite amount of damage. And same goes for Donkey and PIB, but it's not the same for the other 3 characters. Yeah, aside from that, really nothing too unique. Unless we want to be counting the button/switches that are exclusive to specific character types. But the problem is that you're only playing as one character type at a time. You're not able to, like, switch between them like you can in the GameCube version of Shrek 2, so I'm not really sure what we're getting at here.
Really, this game is just an extremely linear platforming game with little beat-em-up sections and a single puzzle.
That's a really good statement to make, to be honest. I haven't watched this in a super long time, by the way, so I don't remember anything that this guy talks about. Even though a few of his opinions have been invalid for various reasons, that's a great opinion right there. Like, seriously, this game is linear. The platforming aspect of it is really what makes Shrek 2 when you think about it. Like, just think about it. To simply master platforming in this game, you have to become so consistent, and that takes forever to do. Like, trust me. If you've watched my previous video, by the way, of me jumping across a pit, then you'll know what I'm talking about. Where doing that probably is only possible with like a few thousand hours of playing the game. I'm not even kidding. I know it sounds insane, but I'm pretty sure.
Go to this extra world where you can get hella coins.
Yeah?
Now, the coins get you potions, but you never need them for anything.
Valid point! No reason to have potions! We should just take the potions out of the game. Just kidding, don't actually take them out of the game. But the potion system needs to be reworked, but so does the enemy system and all that, so yeah. Also, I'm surprised he doesn't touch on how poorly designed the Beanstalk worlds are, because whenever you're transferred to a Beanstalk world, you play as the character that you grab the third poster with, which means that if you are, let's say, PIB or something, and you grab the third poster, you're going to the bonus world with PIB. PIB, as I've already explained before, is the slowest moving character by far, so levels need to be smaller to accommodate for this. The problem is that the Beanstalk worlds are designed for Shrek, specifically Shrek, and I know this, because if you play with any other character, there's always some weird inconsistent parts in Beanstalk. Yeah, very shocked he didn't bring that up at all, because that's a massive gameplay flaw. I'm sure a lot of people have just thought that they were playing bad when in reality it's just the game being bad.
You do not need potions for anything, rendering the only form of replayability. The wanted poster is completely useless unless you just want to get there. Me, myself, I actually remembered where they were.
Okay, I'm surprised. I thought he was going to get into the Shrink Potion, where the Shrink Potion's unique and allows you to get into 3 secret areas, but there's only 3, and that's not really enough to warrant buying a potion. You know, I'm surprised he didn't even do that. Maybe he's about to get into that, and I just paused at a bad time. But yeah, potions are really not that good. Now, from a speedrunning perspective, which is an unfair perspective, by the way, because this video has nothing to do with speedrunning at all, so take everything I'm about to say with a grain of salt. But the invisibility potion, being able to instantly kill any enemies you hit the top of their head with, that's pretty interesting. And then, of course, the Shrink Potion allowing you to go through, like, secret areas. And then the Love Potion being able to bring an enemy towards you. It's cool, but the thing is that most of the potions are just not unique enough. And some of them are just basically copies, like the Sleep Potion and the Stink Potion are the same exact thing. So yeah, potions are just not even worth your time. You can beat the entire game without using potions. Even as a casual player, that might happen. Like, you'll buy them and then you won't know when to use them. You won't ever feel a need to use them, so you never use them. You're just making a number go higher to show how many potions you have.
At one point, you actually control the giant gingerbread man, and it's very questionable to say the least. I mean, it's maybe for 4 or 5 minutes. Finally, there's the boss battle.
Well, we're not even going to talk about that, dude. Castle Siege is cool. Am I the only one who thinks that Castle Siege is actually a cool stage? But the problem is that it's like 2 seconds long. Like, there is almost nothing to Castle Siege. There's this one little part where you have to figure out, oh, I have to throw trees at this bridge, and then the level's over, basically. With nothing really beyond that. I'm confused why he says it's questionable, though. I feel like he meant to say something else that he didn't quite get across there, but that's a very weird way of saying that he didn't like the level. Also, he just brought up that you're able to play as Mongo, which is interesting when he brought up that there were 5 characters you can play as, but it's 6. And you just explained that, so I don't know where we're getting at, man.
These are a bit boring and not very good.
Very true. All the boss fights in the game, except for PIB and FGM, are boring. And that's because there's not many other bosses. The only other bosses in this game, you have the pumpkin boss, at least as far as the GameCube version of Shrek 2 is concerned, that is a boss. And the way it's treated in Shrek 2, maybe it's a boss. I'm going to consider it a boss. Then you have the bandit boss, which you can see right here. And then you have the fat knights. But, the way that these boss fights are implemented is really bad. They could potentially work if the combat system was just reworked entirely, but as it stands, he's completely right on this. The bosses are not well designed and they're boring.
The final boss is what? Like, why, when did Shrek throw food at the fairy godmother? Why did they even... Another really weird thing is the extended platforming when you're doing a lot of it. This is really weird because what would be the hardest sections of the game becomes the easiest sections of the game, like the final level. It literally auto-jumps for you. I did not know this as a kid.
He has a fair point. The difficulty of the levels don't make sense. Also, not to mention, there's no auto jumps in Prison Shrek for some reason. Like, they put auto jumps in Prison Steed and Prison PIB, I guess because, like, I don't know, the beta testers had trouble playing the game or something like that. It's very bizarre for sure. I don't know why they put auto jumps in the game other than, oh, it's supposed to be for kids. But the problem with that argument is that it kind of falls flat when you realize that not every jump in the game has a designated auto jumping zone, which is weird. Unless we want to say, oh, the game is Russian. That is true. The game was rushed out in like 7 months. So but yeah, definitely agree with him. I think that that the platforming would have been a lot more interesting if they didn't have the auto jumps in the prison levels, because there's so much platforming there that would otherwise make the game interesting, but then it's made uninteresting when you realize that, oh, you just click the mouse and then oh yeah, you just click the mouse.
I remember there's this one part that was brutally hard. And
this is the wrong part. I know what he's talking about. In Prison Steed, you have this section right here, and it is brutal to go through it because of the annoying hitbox sizes of these swinging balls that will one-hit you. But on the bright side, at least in Prison Steed, these swinging balls are actually pretty close to the save area, while on the one in Prison Shrek, you gotta do like a solid like minute of just walking, and after you do all that, then you get the chance to do this, and then you'll probably end up looking like this person.
Хотел бы побывать в твоем очке.
You know what? I even died there 10 years after the game's been released. It's still the hardest part of the game.
I don't know about the hardest part in the game. If I had to quantify what I think the hardest part of Shrek 2 for the PC is, I'm gonna say it's the Prison Steed ball section. That's the only thing I think is the hardest part. There's some other like unintuitive parts, like in Hunt 2, jumping over that briar patch at the very beginning is very unintuitive for most new players. And then of course the Prison Shrek ball section is terrible just because of how far the safe area is, but we already know that. The only other hard parts are really the PIB boss fight and the FGM boss fight, because both of them are unintuitive, don't make any sense, and are not explained as to how you're supposed to do them. So it's just bad game design. Everything else is relatively easy.
This game, though, really amounts to forest level, forest level, forest level, factory, forest level, dungeon level 3 times, and then the game is ogre.
The game is ogre. I mean, he's not wrong. I think the reason he's saying that is just because there's just so little unique gameplay when it comes down to it, to the point where you could say that and get away with it. And he's completely right. You can get away with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just how Shrek 2 is. Shrek 2 is just inherently not that interesting of a game, except for all the glitches and stuff like that that really make it what the game is, you know, and the platforming being as brutal as it is, especially with the custom levels, which really shine lights on that. Like, this game has a lot of cool stuff going on with it, but if you're just looking at the core gameplay of the game, it's not good. It's really not that great. But again, if we're looking into glitches, speedrunning, platforming, it's pretty freaking good, at least in my opinion. But there are some parts that are a bit unintuitive, and you'll just have to figure out how all that works, so there is that.
The graphics in this game is a complete mixed bag. Now, throughout the game, there was many graphical glitches, but...
I knew he was gonna bring this up! I freaking knew it! I told you he was probably gonna bring it up again, and boom, there it is right there. As for the graphics, I personally think the graphics are fine. He definitely has a point. Some of the textures in this game just don't make sense. Even like right here, this is a great example. You see like this, this is like a low quality video, but you see like the wall texture, right? Like, this doesn't really seem too particularly stylized for Shrek 2, or the ceiling texture, or the floor texture. That doesn't seem stylized for Shrek 2. Like, this door in the door frame and the keypad, yeah, that seems stylized for Shrek 2. And then like the coins, yeah, it's obviously stylized for Shrek 2, but he's definitely right. Some things are just not stylized for Shrek 2, but we're all just kind of used to it at this point for some reason. We just kind of accepted that that's how the game was supposed to look.
I know that's because I'm playing it on a modern PC, and I don't remember any of that originally when I was a kid.
What? No, it's the opposite.
The character models look really quite stupid, and they don't look as bad as Shrek Extra Large, and they actually look pretty funny. The original Shrek game on the Xbox looks
True.
Much worse.
You know what? I'm glad that he points it out. They look quite stupid, but they look funny. That's a great way of putting it, and I 100% agree with that.
Models just look very pointy and stupid, though. All the text.
Well, we just went backwards. Wait, we went from pointy and stupid to kind of funny, and then pointy and stupid. What side are we picking here, I think everyone definitely agree that the characters just look goofy in this game.
All the textures in the game are extremely bare bones and basic. They all look pretty lame, but yeah.
I feel like he's just like standing on one foot saying that. Like he's really got almost nothing to back that up. The textures are basic and bare bones. I don't think he really has any footing in what he's saying. Like, did he forget that this game was made back in 2004 and there wasn't that many crazy graphical enhancements that you could use for such a game because of the engine that we're running on? I'm not sure if that's why he said that and he was expecting way more. Expecting this game was made back in like 2010. I don't know. It's a very weird opinion to have, for sure.
The sound was alright, and yeah.
He just loves saying that, dude. He loves saying, and yeah. I just get the vibe with this video that he straight up just edited some footage in like a Premiere timeline and just spoke for 7 minutes and 46 seconds and that was the whole video or something. I kind of don't blame him. Trying to make a review for this game is really hard to do, but hey.
The voice acting may be the original voice actors.
It's not. But Donkey has the best voice actor, that's for sure. Donkey's voice actor, in my opinion, is probably the best one. It's not too bad, but everyone else is just a bit far off of what you would normally expect. But again, we're also accustomed to the voice actor sounding the way they do in Shrek 2 for the PC, that we just perceive that as normal. But when you really think about it, if you watch the movie and then play the game, there's going to be a massive dichotomy between the two.
I mean, Donkey sounded good and nobody else really did.
Yeah.
Sounds off. And the punching sounds like PS1 punching.
Sorry, I just have to say this, but anyone here who knows _𝙎 from this community, am I the only one who thinks that this guy and _𝙎 sound very similar? Am I the only one?
Ooh, do you see that? That's too hard for Master. Master 64 doesn't do that one.
Sorry, if anyone here doesn't know who _𝙎 is, just ignore everything I just said, but oh man.
Why did these villagers want to even hurt Shrek? What did he even do to them? They don't.
This is a game, buddy. It doesn't matter. It's a game. It's not meant to be like a one-to-one representation of the movie. It doesn't matter. When you're playing a game, there's just some logic you gotta just throw right out the window. Just throw it out completely because it's irrelevant now. Especially like being able to like do a second jump off of midair. Like, are we not gonna talk about that? Like, I don't know. I feel like, again, he doesn't have much backing in what he's saying.
All in all, Shrek 2 for the PC game is an interesting trip down memory lane. Sure, I might have beat it in 2.5 hours, but I had a lot.
2.5 hours. 2.5 is a little concerning. I understand that if you are like much younger, then yeah, like a 3 to 4 hour playthrough can actually be considered normal. But 2.5 hours? That's a bit insane, man.
It's not really made for modern computers. You might.
So I'm not even going to get into that. This game works perfectly fine on modern hardware. I have no idea what he's talking about.
I mean, the game's okay. It's a decent platformer, and it's so much better than Shrek Extra Large.
Yeah, I think that this review is fine. There's definitely some opinions that I think are just bad. I'm just gonna outright say it. Now, obviously, I don't mean any hate towards this review at all. These are just my biased opinions that you should not take as a fact because they're not a fact, for the most part at least. Yeah, this is not a bad review. I think I'd give this review I'd give it like a 5 out of 10. There you go. Like the most average review ever. Like this is what you expect in a review, but it's nothing more, nothing less, you know? You're gonna get exactly what you wanted with this review. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this random reaction video. I guess it's technically a reaction. I don't know if I'm doing this in the future. This might be a one-off. I just kind of want to just mess around with different types of content. Just see what happens. If this is a massive flop, then hey, it is what it is. But if it isn't, then cool. And I might end up doing like some more reaction to some other Shrek 2 PC content. But yeah, anyway, guys, see ya.